Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the JLJ podcast. It's your boy Jack Ramey. I'm here with my man JVK.
How's it going, guys?
Also here with Matho.
G'day.
And we're back with another episode, lads. Missed last week, had to take a break after a long week of footy, but we're going to go through our season predictions from the start of the year, and then we'll have a bit of trade talk later on in the episode. So, lads, how did our predictions go at the start of the year?
Well, I mean, Jacko, before that, I think we didn't even do a bit of a grand final review or anything like that. So hats off to the Tigers, back to back, obviously, and Dusty Martin, 3-time Norm Smith medalist. I suppose that's all that we can really say about it. You can't. That's just sums it up, really.
Well, if you do have a look at it, though, we did do our predictions. I got the most predictions right. I mean, Gary Rowan, big call, didn't get over 5 disposals. Richmond to win it, and also Martin to win the Norm Smith. So got pretty much all three.
It was a safe pick, and shout out to your mum as well, Jacko. She replied to the Instagram story with Dusty as the Norm Smith, although she had Geelong as the winner. She had one either way, so it was smooth. I liked it.
That's ambitious, but I like it.
Yeah.
All right, so start of the year predictions, the premiers.
Mm-hmm. So I had Richmond to win it, so got that one right. Happy to have that one.
Kick that one off.
Mm-hmm. BK
West Coast.
Yeah, didn't go all the way like I thought, but I had the Tigers in the granny, so got half of the grand final right. So I'm decently happy with that.
Yeah, good on you, mate. I actually had Geelong versus Richmond in the grand final, so I was pretty happy with that. I got the two teams right, but I just had Geelong as the winners, which,
as
we all know, very unfortunate.
What about our Brownlow lads now? None of us have really done well in our Brownlow predictions here. The bit of struggles for
I've got Neil at second.
Mm-hmm. Neil at second, but what about the other
closest? Cripps and Bunt, no good.
Yeah, I had Cripps.
Like, I wouldn't be going, you had Mitchell first, Dangerfield second, and Cripps third.
See, Tommy Mitchell just unlucky. Bad team around him. So
can we just go to here as well? All right. If you're listening to this right now, head back to episode 2 every single time, right? Jacko doesn't agree with something. I didn't have Tom Mitchell in my All-Australian team at the start of the year. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. No, he's a lock. He's a guaranteed lock. That is ridiculous.
Probably. He had a good year.
I would have said that as well.
Unlucky not to make All-Australian.
I had him as a lock. at the start of the year as well, to be fair.
Mm.
And my Seb Ross, big year. Didn't really happen. I got the Saints right. Just picked the wrong midfielder, I think. Just picked the wrong midfielder from the Saints.
Yeah, my big call, Hawthorn to make the prelim, really struggled. Really struggled.
Yep, I had them in the finals as well. That was a dreadful season from the Hawks.
My big prediction for the most suspensions in the showdown.
I know there wasn't a single one, unfortunately. But
no, there wasn't. That was a bust. But then the North Melbourne to fold and merge with Tassie. Right, bear with me here. Bear with me.
That one's on.
They've had a shocking year. So I mean, half of it's right. They're on the verge of folding.
Yeah. What? You give them 2 more years, and you may be looking at the Tasmanian.
I think that was a more 3-year big call. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll look back at it in 2 years' time, Matthew, and I reckon you've got it.
But
exactly.
We've got to look at this. One of the biggest calls. You look at iconic moments in their JLJ podcast history. You got VK predicting the draw. But the other one, Lockie Mathewson to say Port Adelaide to finish bottom of the ladder, and they did not leave top of the ladder at any stage of this season. Matho, take us through this one.
So now, I could easily just say that I meant to say Adelaide, but it's not going to cover it. It's not going to cover it. I said both South Australian teams would be well and truly down the bottom of the ladder, and I thought that Ken Hinkley had a lot of pressure on him, and I just thought, you know what? I reckon he may collapse under this pressure, and Port will be absolutely dreadful. They've proved me well and truly wrong. Hats off to them, but they are scumbags still. But yeah, it's a bad call. Very bad call.
Very bad call, yeah. With me and VK, we had the same wooden spoon prediction in Gold Coast. We had a better year than we thought. Of course, every year they start off strong, but didn't go as well.
Yeah, they went downhill quick.
Me second last, Sydney, wasn't too bad. They ended up finishing third last, so Not terrible in that one.
Not too bad at all.
Just here though, I've got everyone's big calls here. VK's got St Kilda top 8, which he gets right. But the other one here, and I'm just getting it up here now. 1 second, bear with me, sorry.
I know what it is.
What was it?
We all know what it is. Jake
Jake
Stringer
Stringer,
to have an
but
absolute good year. But
In the first,
what are we
he's injured.
what are we determining that he had? Are we determining that it was a good year or not?
He had a
No,
mediocre
wasn't
year
good.
because he was injured for half the year.
Yeah,
His first six games, it was all Australian form. If he didn't get injured, he would have been so. I honestly reckon he was on track to
Yeah.
make it.
Actually, I do agree with that because when he did get injured that game, he was basically turned that game around, and then unfortunately got injured late.
Put on a few kegs and couldn't
Yeah.
run after his
Exactly,
injury. They
yeah.
rushed him back as well because we needed some help. It just didn't do anything.
So
The second half of the year
fair
was
enough.
not up to the standard he would want to be at.
Yeah,
I'm sure what his salary cap says as well.
he barely played though. Still,
Mm.
That's
All right,
fair
lads,
enough.
we can move on to what's happening on the trade table. This is one of my favourite times of the year. Of course, you got finals footy, and then this is probably the second best thing behind finals footy, seeing all the trades and the free agents. So, lads, free agents, what do you reckon the best free agent signing is from this window?
I mean, it's still somewhat open. You can still sign free agency, but so far, if that's what you're meaning,
No,
Jacko,
Matho, no, free agency is closed last night. So all free agents are done. Now it's only trades.
they can go to the preseason draft and get them there.
No, that's not a free agent.
Oh well. I mean, it's probably.
Do you want me to
easy for
list
me
off the
say.
names for you guys?
Nah, I was just gonna.
Give me some names.
Well,
need some names.
Matho can say his, then I'll tell you the big names that have gone.
It's gonna be biased from me, but I think Zach Williams is what Carlton needed. A bit of help in the midfield for Cripps, and with Kate Simpson going out, obviously, bit of a replacement on the halfback as well. So I think that's a good pickup.
Mm-hmm. Right,
But
so
that's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So VK, so the top free agents that probably moved: Isaac Smith to Geelong, Joe Danaher to Brisbane, Zach Williams to Carlton, Aiden Call to North Melbourne, Jesse Hogan to GWS, and Brad Crouch to St Kilda. So which one of those do you reckon is the big one, the best one?
I would argue Crouch should be the best for me in the Saints. I do really like the Williams. I don't think the Joey Danaher is going to be as good of a pickup as all the Brisbane supporters are thinking. He's injured for half. So he will play 8 games next season, but they'll probably be good games. But he'll play 8 games next year. Yeah, I don't mind the Aiden Core one. I used to make a joke out of him, but last few times I've watched him play, he's been pretty decent. But yeah, Matho, looking at it, probably Williams out of the free agent would have to be the best one there.
Yeah, it's hard to say because it's just like what we've reviewed predictions. Like you can't predict how good they are going to be at that club. If Joe Danaher stays fit, by all means he could be the best full forward in the league. And if Zach Williams stays fit as well, I know Zach Williams has had some injury problems in the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
He could arguably get into all Australian form. Who knows? He could unlock a whole new level of ability. It's just we'll have to wait and see. I think Isaac Smith is kind of flying under the radar a little bit. I think that's a little bit of a good pickup.
A bit old though, in an already aging.
He's a bit old. But I suppose that's what Geelong really look at. They love their old lads, don't they?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, well, I obviously think Danaher is the best pickup. It's exactly what Brisbane need to win a premiership, a big key forward. Of course, VK says he's only going to play the 8 games. But you have to remember Lincoln McCarthy came to the club 2 years ago after playing, 30 games in like 4 years or something. And, he ended up playing pretty much 2 full seasons straight. I think he's only had 1 injury at us in those 2 years, and it was only a minor one. Same with Grant Birchall, last 2 years at Hawthorn, couldn't get on the pitch really. Just always had a lot of injuries. The Brisbane medical team got him right, and he only missed 1 or 2 games, and they were pretty much due to resting him because of his old age. So
it's different for a big guy. It's completely different.
I back our medical team to, someone's, Harris Andrews hamstring injury. He got back a week or two earlier than everyone thought he would. So I back our medical team for Joe Danaher to have a massive year at Brisbane.
He's still inconsistent, even when he's healthy, though. That's the thing. I don't know if him and Hipwood are going to work that well together. I think they're very similar players. And Danaher, if you guys really want to fix your goal kicking, set shots and not kick as many points as you do, Danaher's really he's not going to help that. He's one of the worst set shots I've ever seen. On the run, yeah, he's good, but if he gets it on the set shots, it's just going to be more disappointment, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then again, Danaher comes in. It also allows Eric Hipwood to get the second best defender. Yeah. As I've always said, that's why Jack Gunston was so good during Hawthorn's 3-bit years, because he always was taking the second or third best defender back there. So, if Danaher comes in, Eric Hipwood could even get the third defender at times if Oscar McInerney has to go forward and stuff like that. It may not result in Danaher kicking, 40 goals or whatever, but it might result in him and Hipwood having a rise in goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's a hit and a miss, I reckon. We'll have to see how Joe Danaher and Hipwood go with two key forwards in the forward line. I know that Richmond supporters, when Tom Lynch first went to Richmond, they were a little bit worried how Jack Riewoldt would go. And I'm sure there's probably a few Brisbane supporters. I don't think that either of them have really experienced what it's like having another key forward that's probably better than them. Mm-hmm. Now the go-to. So I think it'll be interesting to see how they both handle it. Hit and miss. But Vika, I want to hear your opinion. I know you're happy with receiving pick 7 for Joe Danaher. Do you think he was worth that?
Oh, you kidding me? That is like Christmas precedent, mate. Pick 7 for a half-injured Joe Danaher who's played, 10 games the past 2.5 seasons. That was an amazing compensation. Amazing. I was very, very happy. Obviously, because of the pick, because we had the pick. Is it before or after, Jacko?
It's after. So after your next pick,
the pick after. So, I'm very happy with having the 7th and 8th pick. 7th and 8th pick. So, and we might be getting 6th, 7th, 8th for Carlton. I'm thinking if the Sard trade goes on. So, I'm ecstatic with that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I was a little bit annoyed, actually. I think now Carlton have moved down to pick 8, which isn't ideal. But what stumped me was obviously it's a lot different now, and I think Jacko, me and you had a conversation about this. But when Buddy Franklin moved to Sydney, and Hawthorn got pick 23 in compensation, and Buddy Franklin has kicked, I think, 300 more goals and only played, I think, 40 more games than what Joe Danaher has played, and that Hawthorn got pick 23 and Essendon got pick 7 for a half-injured Joe Danaher, like VK said, that's played a handful of games in the last 3 years. So it's interesting, but I think Jacko, you said something that it's changed nowadays or something like that. But
so how it works is Hawthorn won the premiership that year in 2013, which means their first draft pick is pick number 18 in the first round. But then, of course, it gets pushed back for every other free agent that leaves during that year. So it keeps pushing back and back until... So Hawthorn's first pick in that draft was pick 22, and then Franklin leaving means they get their next best pick after that. So say if Hawthorn finished bottom of the ladder like that and Franklin left with his $1 million contract. So it also takes into account how much they're on. So that's why Adelaide were pushing to get a pick 2, but because St Kilda only offered Brad Crouch $600,000 a year instead of $700,000 or so, it means that they didn't get their pick 2 and end up having to get one of the picks in the early 20s. So that's why Franklin pick is at pick 23, and that's how it works. Which maybe not isn't the best. Maybe it should be on how good the actual player is, not just what the next team's best pick is. But that's how it works.
That's a bit of a talking point. I reckon it probably should have changed to what the player's actually worth, I suppose, because I suppose that's what you really trade for at the end of the day. Like if you're trading with someone, that's what the conversation now between Carlton and Essendon are, is Adam Sard worth pick 8. Like it's, I think that's what it probably should be. But I mean, it's worked the last few years, so it could keep on working. But have to see how it goes, really.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So yeah, speaking on that, Matho, we'll move on to some of the trades that look likely to happen or not likely to happen. First one, I guess, one of the biggest ones that looks pretty close to happening is Sard to Carlton in pick 8. Of course, both of you involved in this one, being Essendon and Carlton fans. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, pick 8, I'd happily give pick 8 for Adam Sard, but I think a later draft pick coming back with it as well would probably be suitable, even if it's late 3rd round, even 4th, something like that, just to compensate, because he's a good player, no doubt, but I don't think a top 10 pick and just for Sard is fair enough. I think another pick should come back with it.
VK, what about you?
I think it's perfect for both teams. To be honest, I'm very happy with getting pick 8. I don't want anything else. To be honest, I think that's the minimum that Essendon need to be pushing for and what Sard deserves, to be completely honest. Being at that All-Australian form, or close to All-Australian form, obviously. I'm not making it, but close to All-Australian form around there for the last couple of years now. Very, very important role for Essendon. A thing that I would like to speak about is how Essendon's set up without him, especially that McKenna as well, even though McKenna was terrible this season, but they both were our two fast rebounding half-backs. I think the game style may change under Rutten, and it looks like it with Sard leaving as well. We're going to have to change, and the way that we've been performing, it's going to have to change also. But yeah, I'm not sure where Essendon go or where we go from losing that spot. Who plays there? Devon Smith's been put back to half-back, but he's not up to it. So yeah, I'm not sure, but I definitely think number 8 is fair for both teams, and I'm definitely happy with the number 8 pick, the Sard, if it goes through.
Yeah, I think it's close to getting done. I just think that what's happening now is just Carlton are wanting a pick in return. They don't want to just give pick 8 just for Adam Sard. I think they want something in return as well. So if that means that we have to trade a player as well, 2 for 2 instead of a 1 for 2 kind of deal. But as he said, I don't know. We discussed this in one of our group chats. Adam Sard says that he will sit out a year if Essendon redraft him, obviously, throughout the preseason draft. Obviously, it's very unlikely that professional AFL football will sit out a year. But I think so. What happens is if Essendon and Carlton don't make a deal, because he's not a contracted player, he can leave, but then go to the preseason draft. And if Essendon choose to take him back, because they have the pick before Carlton, then they can take him back. And his view on it is that if Essendon take him back, he'll sit out a year and then go again for that. But it's wrong for a professional footballer to do it.
Oh yeah, ludicrous, to be honest.
Yeah, well,
but then again, I also
come down to it.
Yeah, I don't think it'll come down to it at all. But I suppose it's just if Essendon want to risk it. Like if I was Essendon, I'd be trying to get a deal done as early as possible to save him walking to the preseason draft and save all that hoo-ha there. Because it just depends if you want a player that doesn't want to be on the club on your hands. So
yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
And I guess linked with that pick 8 deal, if they do that over the line, pick 8, Essendon would use that to get Josh Dunkley. VK, what would your thoughts on trying to bring in Josh Dunkley?
Absolutely. I already have the 6th and 7th pick. Obviously 8th would be good for the draft, but it's also more of a risk picking someone out of the draft than going for a young player like Dunkley, who has already been proven to be a pretty good player, and he fits what Essendon want to do under Rutten, and that's start to rebuild, get the young players in the draft like the picks suggest. And he's that more of an inside kind of midfielder that we don't really have in our midfield. A lot of outside. Merritt's an outside midfielder. Shields now some Parrish outside midfielder. McGrath's a little bit in and out, but we don't really have that inside midfielder who can go forward and kick a goal as well, because that's what our midfielders lack. So yeah, I think he'd fit in perfectly, and he really wants to be there too. So I definitely would be happy with 8th or 7th or 6th, just one of those picks, and then having 2 of the other to go and get Dunkley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bulldogs very vocal that he won't be leaving the club, but we'll have to wait and see on that. I personally don't think it'll happen, but stranger things have happened. Also, I guess probably one of the other big midfielders, Treloar. Where do we think he's going to end up? A lot of talk of him joining Brad Crouch at St Kilda.
Yeah, I think that there's a few big Victorian clubs that are linked to him. Obviously Gold Coast as well with his wife or girlfriend, or we'll just call it partner heading up there for netball. Although it's only a 10-month contract, they were trying to get her a contract for a Melbourne-based club, but couldn't get a deal done or anything. So 10-month contract on the Gold Coast, which I honestly can't see Treloar heading up north.
Yeah, he's already said he doesn't want to. So
year or not. Yeah, exactly. St Kilda, I can see him fitting in at St Kilda. That would create a very, very nice midfield. I believe Essendon are linked with him as well. Carlton are linked. There's one more. I can't think of the other now, but big Victorian clubs that are linked. That's all I know.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. Hawthorn also in the mixed for that with they've got a ridiculous amount of salary cap money with the amount of players that retired this year for him. It's just interesting to see what a club will have to give up to get someone like Adam Treloar. And Collingwood in a bit of trouble, lads. Of course, Jaden Stevenson, they've also told him to leave. A man with a lot of talent, maybe not a lot of heart and balls, but great talent on him. Of course, also Josh Phillips, who is a good winger, not a great winger, but definitely Tom Phillips. So yeah, who would slide into a lot of teams nicely. So thoughts on those two ones, Stevenson and Phillips?
I think the biggest thing at Collingwood now is their salary cap. I think they're just about on the brink of breaching it, and that's why I reckon that they're almost forcing some players out. I know that there was a lot of speculation in the media about Adam Treloar and how he was dealt with from the Collingwood Football Club and forcing him out. Nathan Buckley being very vocal, of course, on Twitter saying that none of that ever happened. But I mean, it's just end of the day, it's all just rumours, I suppose. But I reckon Stevenson would be a good pickup if you can get him in the right frame of mind. Like what I know, us three boys always rip into him about not having much heart and much balls, like you just said, Jacko. If you can get him right, and of course Tom Phillips, I think he'd be a very good pickup for anyone on a wing. Not your A grade midfielder or anything like that, but I think he's definitely a B grade midfielder, something like that. It'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Stevenson pickup in the right system for me. I don't know about Phillips though. He was decent a couple of years back, especially when they were making the premiership, making the grand final. But from what I've seen this year, and from what a lot of the Collingwood supporters have been saying, that he's just not very good anymore. And maybe obviously that could change a different setup, but I don't know about him. But I do think Stevenson has the potential and has shown that, not heaps obviously, but in certain games. And I think in the right setup, he would definitely be quite a good player. I'm not sure about Phillips though.
Yeah,
I reckon. I can see it. I say it all the time. A hit and miss. It is a prediction, I suppose. But you also got to think Zach Jones didn't fit in at Sydney in their midfield. He didn't fit into the system there. Going to St Kilda and arguably in the best form of his life. Yeah. So it almost like if you do take a move, join a new midfield or join a new playing group, it almost reboots your career, I suppose. So I think any trade is promising. It just depends on how well it'll be.
Probably moving on to the biggest trade of the trade period. Jeremy Cameron to Geelong, of course, tried to get him under the free agency. GWS first ever club to match a free agency bid. Would have been $900,000 a year. But, GWS only going to get compensated pick, what was it, probably like 10 or something. And obviously, they think that they can get more from Geelong, which is definitely fair enough. He's worth more than just pick 10. So it looks like 2 first rounders Geelong are going to have to give up to try and get Cameron in. What are your thoughts on this
I
one?
think the biggest thing I think, Jacko, is that I read or was on Trade Radio today that GWS are just not contacting Geelong. They've had no actual contact. I think they're almost trying to keep Cameron at the club, and they're just refusing to negotiate with them. I think they leave it to the last minute, force Geelong out. I know Geelong have been serial pests at doing that before, just not negotiating or taking any offers or anything. So, I mean, if they're going to force someone to stay at the club, I think they're doing it the right way. They've matched their bid. They're happy to keep him at the club. It just depends if Cameron wants to be there, I suppose. If Geelong get a deal done, though, I think that's creates a very, very good forward line. Cameron and Hawkins, the last 2 years,
be very dangerous
goal kickers.
Yep. Scary forward line, I reckon.
Yeah, it'll
very,
be
very
interesting.
Nice forward line.
Of course, rumours coming out that GRUS are going to try and get Parfitt or Radically in return. Parfitt just signed a 2-year deal, so that one doesn't look very likely. But I could definitely see Radically jumping over, even though I don't think GRU probably want him. With signing of Jesse Hogan.
The only reason why I think they'd get Radically would be because of the ruckman situation that they're in right now. Obviously, Sam Jacobs retiring.
Sean Moffat will retire at the end of next year. Should have retired this year.
Yeah, exactly. I thought he did. My bad. But yeah, exactly. I think Radically is not an amazing footballer, but he's not terrible or anything. He's a decent ruckman. I suppose if that's what they need, that's what they need.
Yeah, it'd definitely be interesting on that one. No one's quite too sure on that one. And that's also holding up a lot of other deals that they said. So Sean Higgins to Geelong, that one looks, pretty certain to happen with a second rounder or so going to Geelong. That'll be another good one for Geelong. Sean Higgins is a class player, so definitely good for that one. What are you guys' thoughts on Sean Higgins?
It's good.
Yeah.
He fits in great, I reckon, for them. And it's another Geelong type of pickup, not young or anything, but just a good player. It's like Smith and Cameron's still young, but yeah, it'll definitely suit in well at Geelong, and they're going to be great again next year. They'll make top 4 again. They'll just be as they have been for the past 10 years, just so consistent.
Yeah,
for sure. And of course, it does make you kind of look at it. Geelong, their young players are good. Like you got Brian Myers, Parfitt. I suppose. Oh, how old is Parfitt? Do you classify him as young?
Yeah, he's still like 23, 24.
Yeah, I think a fair few of their young players are actually half decent. So I think it's just unheard of, really, of Geelong heading to the draft, though. Really, when was the last time they picked up someone big or good from the draft?
Yeah, it's been a while.
I think they've got access to obviously the Geelong Falcons. I think that's their obviously affiliated NAB league. Fair bit of academy stuff going on down there. So I think they get a bit of a good look there. It's just weird though. Yeah, you don't really hear much of it.
Yeah, well, I think Geelong have to win a premiership in the next 2 years, or else they'll be in trouble. Selwood will be at the end of his career. Ablett's already gone. Taylor should be gone, but I think he'll play another year. Hawkins will be pretty much gone. Dangerfield will be close to gone. So if they don't win it, Smith, who they bring in, will be gone in 2 to 3 years' time. So if they don't win a premiership in this window, then it's going to be a big rebuild for them with not much success. Also,
for sure.
I guess and a couple of smaller trades that aren't too relevant. Jack Higgins to St Kilda is looking quite possible. That's just going to be another good Dan Butler type of player. Not as good as Dan Butler,
who knows?
But it definitely could be just like Dan. And Nakai Cockatoo to Brisbane, bit of an irrelevant pick as well. Will be a late pick 4. I mean, 4th rounder, 5th rounder. So not too much in terms of those ones going on. So any other trades that you guys have been looking at that interest you?
In the notebook, Jacko, or VK, you love the notebook.
I've joined you on
that's about it.
the notebook grind actually.
Yeah, notebook gang. How is it?
It is good. It's very good.
It's easy.
Exactly.
You put a little asterisk next to it when you know what you got to talk about. It's nice.
Yeah, exactly. I guess the other trade, the only official trade that's gone through, Kyle Hartley from Adelaide to Hawthorn. He was a free agent, but Hawthorn decided not to pick him up in the free agency because that would have stopped them receiving compensation for Isaac Smith. So, it was a pick, a future fourth rounder. So, nothing special in that. He's not a great player, but you see how he does.
Obviously, they see something in him that no one else does. So good on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, they're going to need some help back there. Sicily out for all the year with his ACL, and of course Stratton fully retiring. So no key defenders back there at all. So that's why they brought him in.
Yeah. What about Jesse Hogan and GWS? We haven't really spoken about that much.
Yeah. So of course I was under the free agency.
Yeah.
And actually wasn't under the free agency, or was it? I can't remember.
It wasn't.
No,
it was they traded.
Yeah, they traded for him. Yeah, it was pick 50.
Something.
Yeah, it was pick 52 or something like that, which is amazing for GWS. For Fremantle, really stuff this one up. Bring him in for a pick 6 and pick 20 something. So big loss for
Obviously,
Fremantle.
he's a first pick. It's just like anyone, really. You get their head right. Like, obviously, he's had some mental problems over the last few years. Heading over Perth wouldn't be easy. I think a fair few Fremantle supporters were giving it to him for not really performing very well. But you get his head right, and obviously he went pick 1, so he's got talent there. And a lot of people have seen that he's got talent, hence him going so early in the draft.
Yeah, he's definitely a good player.
Yeah, exactly. You get his head right, and I think that he could be a massive player for GWS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that links on from former Melbourne player, potential new key forward at Melbourne, Ben Brown. This one looks pretty likely to happen, depending what it is. I think North want to try and get a first round pick out of Melbourne. I don't think Melbourne really want to do that for Ben Brown. But if he gets his body right. We know how good he is in terms of the last 3 years, how strong he was, of course, this year. It was quite poor. But, yeah, that would be a big one for Melbourne with Tom McDonald exiting the door. Him and Sam Wiedemann could be a very strong combination.
Yep. I like that for Sam Wiedemann's development as well. I reckon have someone like Ben Brown there. I reckon it will be. I reckon he'll perform really well this season. I think Melbourne will be even improved than they were last year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Melbourne have been on the verge of it every year. They've got it all on list, but they just don't really work well. I know, I can be 2-3 years ago now. They got knocked off by West Coast in the elimination final or semi-final or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even the prelim. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, in the prelim final.
Yeah, that's right. They got absolutely demolished, and
then
went pretty hard that trade period and brought in a few decent players, and everyone was picking them to go. Yeah, somewhat close to contesting and didn't even make finals, so it was a bit of a bust. But on Ben Brown, I'm looking here. I predicted All Australians. Me and Jacko both had Ben Brown in our starting All Australian sides, and obviously the season that he's had, it's another call gone begging. Yeah, of course. Yeah, just injuries and lack of confidence have really hindered him. Of course, also being in North Melbourne as well, you also have to remember how good is the ball coming into them. Not too many, great users of the ball, especially in the first half of the season. Jay Anderson, quite strong second half, but apart from, maybe Higgins was quite good. Jamont was decent in the first half of the season. But, now as he's moving to Melbourne, he'll be having, Petrarca, Oliver, Viney, Brayshaw, Langdon on the wing, all delivering the ball. So definitely strong signs for him. Yeah, 100%. Just on Jed Anderson as well. Carlton are linked with Jed Anderson, actually. So yeah, that's coming out today. There's a big difference between what Jed Anderson wants in terms of financial point and what North Holland are willing to pay him. So if
a club can snag him up, it'd be very strong. So Hawthorn
Yeah.
kicking themselves that they let him go probably 2 seasons ago. I think they delisted him or something. So, definitely a good player. So, yeah,
Who
it'll be
knows?
interesting to see
Could
where he
become
goes.
the
Jared
I've
Lyons.
forgotten his name. Yeah, Jared Lyons. That's the one. Could become
Yeah.
the next Jared Lyons at Carlton. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, but I think he'll stay. I don't think they'll
Yeah, I reckon he will.
let him leave, and he'll be one of their future stars in the coming
Yeah,
years.
and obviously with Brown leaving, Sean Higgins leaving, I think they'd be ludicrous to let him go as well.
Yeah, I'm sure they got a lot of money that they'll probably just hold on to.
Yeah.
And try to go hard in the draft. But interesting with the draft this year, I've been thinking about this. There's a lot of mystery in this draft, which can be good and bad for both teams because of no TAC Cup, no VFL whatsoever going on in Victoria, that all these young star players hadn't had a chance to prove themselves. So, you could very easily see an elite player drop to, a pick 30 or something, and maybe some of the top end guys not be as good as what they thought they were, because of course all the selectors pretty much have to go off what they were like last year. And
and they're not even top age that year, so it does create that a bit of mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Really, who knows? You could pick up VK with pick 10 in the draft, and he could be the next Tom Mitchell. Who knows?
That's definitely likely if any club is thinking about it.
Any club's thinking about it, VK will register himself for the draft.
Absolutely. Even to get into like a late fourth rounder, that's going to be a steal.
Yeah,
a steal. It could be. All right, guys.
Exciting stuff, though. Really,
it is. Definitely is. Course draft is one of the best nights for all the young fellas going around. Of course, what's his name? Dacos more relevant than his brother already. Likely to go pick one or so, and the North Melbourne guy from this McDonald bloke from their what's it called academy. He's looking like likely to go high up. One of the Bulldogs Academy blokes looking to go high up. So some strong signs for a lot of Melbourne clubs, which is definitely interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be able to get into the more draft stuff as it moves closer to the year. Could bring in some potential draft prospects that we know. Could interview them.
I reckon we do it.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in to this episode. If you have any trade tips or anything that you want us to cover on the next episode, make sure you go over it. Make sure you send it in. Any other questions, like and subscribe to the podcast. Go follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. TikTok did have a bit of a blow up during grand final week. Some of them hit 10,000 views, so that was very exciting for that. But thanks for listening, and cheers, guys.